What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and in this video I'd like to check in on the altcoin index, the others chart, to forecast where and what the average altcoin is expected to do over the coming days and weeks. A lot of people are wondering with yesterday's transactions, is this the low? Are we going lower? Is it the beginning of the bear market? Is the bull market over? What alt season I want to refund, right? We're going to answer all these questions, hit on all these topics and more. Hit the like button, subscribe. Let's get into it, okay? First and foremost, no, I don't believe that it's the bear market. No, I don't believe that the bull market's over. We haven't seen alt season yet. I know that last week the altcoin index was saying that we were in alt season. I made a video last week or 2 weeks ago debunking how that indicator is not always right. We've had altcoin season index hit like 3 different times saying that it was alt season 3 different times this cycle, and never once has it been true. The most real alt run that we had this cycle was really from June 2023 until March 2024. That was the most like alive that this alt season was. That was the closest thing to a resemblance of an alt season that we've had. Anything since then has just not really actually been true, and this isn't even really the beginning of an alt season. Alt season is this. This is alt season. That's alt season. I've had people ask me, does alt season last? How long does it last for? Is it about a month? Is it 3 months? It changes. It varies, but it's typically like 20 weeks or more. Typically, alt season is 20 weeks or more. Again, this is not alt season. Alt season was here. That was alt season. And this alt season, being on a weekly time frame here, from a low to the high where it ended, was about 55 weeks long. 55 weeks long. We look at this alt season back here, I would say this is not the beginning of alt season, but more this was the beginning of alt season here. We really picked up the pace here. Alt season was in full swing for about 20 weeks there, you guys. 20 weeks. And it had started well beforehand, right? This was just the last part. 20 weeks. Look at how much we were moving up before then, for how consistently too, from March of 2020 all the way until December of 2020. We were moving up that whole time, but it really kicked off and it went hard for 20 weeks. And that's not even where we topped off. We topped off months later, right? Alt season has not begun yet. None of this resembles alt season. And I don't think that we have any other cycles to go off of after that, right? I'm pretty sure, yeah, this chart stops there. If anyone's wondering why I didn't go to earlier dates than these, it's because that's all we have. Let's pretend here that alt season, went from 55 to 20 weeks. Maybe this one's even shorter. Let's pretend that for a second, okay? We still haven't had it. Even if alt season was a mere 10 weeks long, which I doubt it's going to be 10, I think that it would be longer than that. But that would put us in December. We would have a spectacular time rallying between now and then. And I don't think it'll be 10 weeks long. I do think that it'll be 20 weeks. I think it'll actually be longer than 20 weeks. This alt season, I predict, will be longer than the last alt season. I genuinely do predict that. And time will tell. We'll see how it goes. But at the current rate, that would put us in February. At this rate, I think alt season isn't really going to kick off until October, sometime in October, and 20 weeks or more would put us in late February, likely going into March or April or even May, which is kind of my expectation. If we go into May, we're still at like 33 weeks. We're nowhere near that 55-week length that we had over here. Alt season is a long-lasting thing, you guys. It hasn't even begun yet. Okay, I'm getting all distracted. I wasn't even supposed to talk about that. Really, what I'm trying to talk about is the forecasting of altcoins between now and then. But I just wanted to point out that no, the bull market's not over. No, alt season was not a fraud. It just hasn't happened yet. Okay, it hasn't happened yet. What we're doing right now is we're consolidating. We're consolidating, and that's okay. We consolidated for a long time before, and whenever we broke out, look at the very bullish repercussions that took place, right? This was, let's just see, from a low. This wasn't even alt season, but this is, again, the closest thing to an alt season that we had. That was 22 weeks. That was 22 weeks of upside. When alt season really kicks off, it's going to be longer than that. It's going to be more robust than that. The average altcoin in that 22-week period saw something on the lines of a, what is that? What kind of growth is that? 3.3x. That's not an alt season. It's what we've got coming is way more dramatic than that. And in fact, I was going to do the short-term stuff, but since we're doing this, let's talk about the long-term stuff. What we have coming, you guys, is an overall growth in the market that's going to take us to, I believe, all the way up to this 2272. That was my daughter shutting the door. All the way up to this 2272 area, where the altcoin markets, the others index itself, will be at about a $6 trillion valuation, and will likely go up a little bit more than that. That's a 20x or more from here. Okay, that's your alt season, and that's going to take, I would think, somewhere around 30 to 40 weeks to develop entirely, depending on when we start. Right, something more than 20 weeks, something less than 40 weeks is what I'm forecasting, but it could go longer. You never know. A lot of people are wondering if the cycle's over just because of the timeline, because of how long it's taken so far. We've bled so far into this bull market. We haven't seen anything yet. You guys, we've still got enough time. We've still got enough time, and absolutely this can bleed into 2026. The only thing is that now the bear market will likely be shorter. I think what's going to happen is this, okay, and I'm going a little bit prophetic here, okay, but talking about the long term. I think what's going to happen is this. We're going to move up. We're going to have a dramatic swing up. It's going to be the most powerful run we've seen this whole cycle. And by the end of December, maybe in the beginning of January, we're going to top off. People are going to call for that to be the end of the cycle. Clearly, that's the cycle finale. Right? We haven't had a taste of true bullishness all cycle. So clearly this, new all-time highs across the board, clearly that is the cycle finale. People are going to sell out early. And then we're going to have one last rally that actually takes us, this will be the cycle finale here, and it'll be about the same length, but maybe even bigger. It'll be something like that going into May. That'll be the cycle finale, and at this point in time, people are going to start to say things like, the cycle's not going to end ever. We're just in a super cycle. There is no bear market, blah, blah, blah. It's never going to happen. By the time the bear market actually comes underway, by the time people start coming around that the bear market's begun, they're going to look back and they're going to see that every bear market we've had has lasted for about a year's length in time, except for the very first bear market. But every bear market we've had has been about a year. I theorize that people are just going to get it wrong all the way up. They're going to call this the end of the cycle when it's not. It's a momentary high to the end of the cycle, just like we had here. Whenever we started our alt season here, we had this momentary high before seeing our all-time highs. Just like we had here, we had a momentary high before we saw our all-time highs. People are going to get faked out like they do every single cycle, and then they're going to sell at the wrong time. They're going to FOMO in at an even worse time, and then the bear market's going to begin. But the difference here is that this bull market's lasted longer than any other bull market so far. So to make sense out of this in a cyclical format, this by definition would likely imply, doesn't mean it has to, but likely it would imply that the bear market will be shorter. And everybody's going to expect the bear market to be a year long or more. They're going to rationalize by saying, oh man, we pumped so hard. That was way harder than we were supposed to pump. We saw a bigger rally. We're going to have to see a bigger bear market. No. We're going to see the same bear market we always see, except this time it's going to be shorter in time. It's going to be intense at first, very intense at first. It's going to leave people with their pants around their ankles if they're expecting it to come back up. And then I think after about 6 months to 8 months, that'll be the end of the bear market. Everyone's going to expect it to go into a year. We're going to have some kind of like false look of like a lower low, but it'll be a higher low, and then we'll come up to the next cycle. This is that's some very far out forecasting, but I'm telling you, it's a 3-part process if you listen accordingly. Okay, part 1, false high. Part 2, real high, but with false hopes, right? The thought here is that the bear market begins. False. The thought here is that it's not the end of the bull market. We're in the super cycle. We can't be stopped. Absolute peak euphoria. False. And then the third part is end of the bear market. People are going to expect that it's going to last twice as long as it already has. They're going to be waiting for more. And they're going to keep waiting because we're just going to keep rallying. But anyways, there's that. Let's talk about the short-term stuff. And what do I know? This is my 3rd cycle. I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But I've been doing a lot of research on not just crypto markets, but on stock markets as well. And left translated, right translated cycles, cyclicalities in cycle dynamics. And it seems to me a lot of people are under the impression that we're going to go through a super cycle. That's already primed in people's minds, okay? Coming from the guy, again, just to give myself some credit here, okay? Everybody and their mother was saying that this bull market would be the shortest bull market we would ever see. It would be the shortest bull market we'd ever see. They were all saying this back here in the end of 2023, at the end of 2022. That year of 2023, that was all people were saying, is that this is going to be the shortest bull market we'd ever seen. As soon as we got here, as soon as we saw new all-time highs, we got to new all-time highs before the halving. That was proof. We've never seen new all-time highs before the halving before. This is going to be the shortest bull market we've ever seen. The whole step of the way, I've always said it's not going to be the shortest bull market. I actually think it's going to be the longest bull market. This is going to be the first bull market that we've seen where we actually have growth from the cycle lows to the cycle highs. Every cycle so far, from the bear market low to a high, we've seen diminishing returns each cycle. I've said three things throughout this whole cycle that I have not changed. One, this cycle would be that the Bitcoin would top out at $500,000. Which inherently means number two, it's going to be a larger cycle, the first cycle that we ever see growing compared to a previous cycle. And number three, it's going to be longer. It's going to be longer than people anticipated to be. Now, to be fair, I didn't think it would be this long. I didn't think we'd be going into Q2 of 2026, but we think that now. It's longer than I originally thought, and we've adapted to that. But people have been changing their dynamics the whole time. At first, everybody was convinced that this cycle would be the shortest cycle we've ever seen. As far as people were saying, left translated bull market. Does anybody remember that? Nobody says that now because they were all wrong about it, and I protested that all like vivaciously. Okay, something else that I'm protesting vivaciously, something that I hope I'm using that word right. I think vivacious would be appropriate. Let's actually look it up. I'm kind of curious. Hold on. Define vivacious. Vivacious. Maybe not. Maybe not. Lively and animated. Okay, yeah. Typically used as a woman. Well, it's 2025. I can identify as whatever I want. And anyways, vivaciously, this woman of a bull market is going to continue to blossom. I don't know where I was going with that. All I'm trying to say is people are now expecting, and the programming that's in people's heads is that we are going to see a super cycle where there is no bear market. And as we continue to progress and as the time of this cycle continues, people are going to think that that's valid. But really what we're seeing is just a right translated bull market, which is common. It's actually very common. It's more common for a bull market to be right translated and a bear market to be left translated, which is exactly what I'm calling for. Okay? Man, we're talking about long-term stuff. I thought this would be a short-term video, but I hope you're taking something away from it. Prepare yourselves. You're not just preparing yourself for what you believe to happen, or if you agree with what I'm saying and what I believe to happen, but prepare yourselves for every single thesis and theory in the market, all these professionals and experts telling you the exact opposite or things that are different. Prepare your faith to be shaken and tried and tested. Again, what do I know? But I was one of probably the only YouTube influencers out there, and I have a very small channel, that was not calling for this cycle to be shorter. That was not calling for us to end the bull market in 2025, right? Now everybody's on board with the idea that we've got more to go, that it's not going to be the shortest cycle. Now everybody's on board with that. Nobody talks about the left translated cycle where all these people were before, right? We've been talking about 500K since 2023 before it was even a thought in people's heads. Now everybody's talking about 500K to $1 million. Okay. Haven't changed the price target. We've changed the timing on it a little bit. I'm sure everybody's timing has changed a little bit, and that's okay. Timing is the hardest part to get. But mark my words, whenever it comes to the bear market, the next bear market, it's going to be the shortest lived bear market that we've seen since, what year was that? Was it 2013? 2011? 2013, I think. Let's see. Oh, we don't have it on here. Hold on. I'm fairly positive it was 2013. Or no, was it 2011? I think it was 2011. I'm getting it all confused here. Anyways, we'll let that load, and then we'll come back to that, just out of my curiosity alone. But talking about the short-term stuff, finally, getting into the short-term stuff, what I originally designed this video for, or had designed for this video, is that we're probably going to go lower. No, we're not finding support here. Yes, we could, and yes, we could move up higher, but I doubt that we do. From a low to a high, we've broken through our 236 on a closing basis. That means one thing and one thing only, my friends. We are going down to the 382. Down, down, down we go. We look at this here. You had a nice wedge. You've broken out of it, clearly, clear as day. And we're coming down. We're overall in an uptrend, right? We've got higher lows galore. Looking at this here, I think we can finally actually see. I'm jumping around on you guys, but I'm trying to get where this last bear market was. Not 20. Was it 20? It was 2013. No. 2013 was that interim peak. That's right. This one. We're going to have the shortest bear market since 2011. Okay, it was 2011. Little Bitcoin history there for you, right? The very first bear market, 2011. If we connect the dots, we don't even hit this line. Could we hit this line? Sure. We could. You know, from here, it's very possible, by the way, it's very common to go below the 382. We wick below it. I would think that we would hit this line, or at least I should say find our low before the 10th of October. So if we do hit this line by the 10th of October, that would promote a 15% drop from here. Could we do a 15% drop from here? Sure. At that rate, why not hit the 0.5? Why not go all the way down to a 16% drop? Maybe. That's the worst case scenario. What does that mean? It's the others chart. It's the altcoin index. The average altcoin would drop 16% more or less that this price here, okay? The further out that you get from the top 100 down to the top 200, top 300, the more likely you're to drop more. The further or the closer you are to the top 20 or the top 10, the less likely you're going to drop this amount. You're probably going to drop less, probably. Not always. Just because you're in the top 10 and you drop more than this doesn't mean you're a piece of crap. Just because you're in the top 200 and you drop less than this doesn't mean that you're golden. Maybe it has those implications, but doesn't mean that specifically. At the most, a 16% drop is what's coming our way, using logic, okay? The next place that I would think we'd find support is the 382. And likely we would wick a little bit below there, so I think something on the lines of a 10% drop or more is coming our way. Puts us in line with this low here, puts us in line with this area of resistance here and this area of resistance here. It's right at the 382, and I would expect that we hold the 382 as support. I don't think that we go below that. It could happen. That's my daughter. I think she's just playing. Yeah, she's just playing. Okay, that's annoying, but bear with me here, guys. We're almost done, okay? I do think that we could find support a little bit below this, somewhere between the 0.5 and the 382. It's actually very common to go from your golden ratio to that area, then bounce and then go higher. I'm going to go check on her. She's okay. She's being silly. Anyways, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. We probably have a 10 to 16% drop left in the altcoin markets as a whole between now and the end of the first week of October, okay? That's all I got to say. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.